guys, how y'all doing? Sorry it's been a while, but as you know, Texas kind of had a freak storm last week. So we got kind of snowed in, and usually when we get snowed in, we don't do much. Anyways, so I am doing Genesis chapter 7 today, and 11, and let me go there. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me. In this generation you shall take with you 7 each of every clean animal, a male and his female, 2 each of animals that are unclean, a male and his female, also 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have made." And Noah said according to all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters were on the earth. So Noah with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean animals and of animals that are unclean, of birds and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark to Noah, male and female. God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was on the earth in 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and 3 wives of his sons were with them, entered the ark. They and every beast after its kind, all cattle after their kind, every creepy thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2, all flesh in which is the breath of life. So those that entered, the male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the water, and the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died and moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts and every creepy thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils were the breath of the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the earth, of the ground, both man and cattle, creepy thing, and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. It seems, I understand where some people come from. That section of the flood account seems a little brutal, it was. But in retrospect, God was cleansing the earth of all and starting fresh with Noah, his sons, and his 3 sons. His sons' wives, his 3 sons. So, with that being said, let's get into my little notes here. So in 7:1, after the ark's completion, God gave Noah the order to board the vessel. "I've seen that you are righteous before me in the generation," because Noah had found righteousness. Noah and his family were saved. The concept of sparing many because of the righteousness of a few occurs in Genesis 18:24-32. So I was watching this. It was kind of like a little comedy thing on PureFlix, and it was an interview with Noah. And I want to believe that even though Noah was the one that was righteous, and they and his family were the ones that were to restart Earth with all these pairs of animals, I want to believe that because of Noah's righteousness, he tried to get people to come and be saved. But like this little thing was saying, that everybody was mocking him and laughing at him. Um, yeah, and I want to believe that while he was building the ark, they were mocking him and laughing at him. But it's like they didn't believe that there was rains coming from, because from what I understand, is that before the flood waters, there was really no rain on earth. There was like a light mist that God had done to water everything, but there was no physical rain like we would see today. Anyways, verses 2 through 3, Noah was to take with him one pair, male and female, of each species of animals to preserve the species. In addition, he was to bring with him 7 additional pairs of clean land and air animals. The clean animals is fit for human consumption and sacrifices to God. Concept of clean animals is explained in Leviticus 11:1 through 46. So when we get into Leviticus, we'll get into the purpose of all the clean animals and the sacrifices and all the rules and stuff like that. It's long and drawn out in Leviticus. I know some people kind of skip over Leviticus and Numbers, but they're kind of, along with Genesis, it's kind of an important chapters or books. Verses 4 through 5, God giving Noah an advance warning was necessary, for it takes time loading the animals, making sure food rations were stored, bedding, and whatnot. Noah and his family were loading a 3-story vessel and securing several thousands of animals, plus making sure there was enough bedding and food for them and the animals. So the extra animals was for the consumption of Noah and his family, from what I understand, and then of course any of the animals that he would need that consumed meat, and that's the purpose of the the 7 additional clean animals. And then like we were talking about in verses 2 through 3 with the sacrifices and stuff like that. Now I don't think they were doing any burning sacrifices, being on a wooden boat, but I'm not sure on all that. Rain is the tool God used to pass judgment against sinners. Genesis 19:24. He used burning sulfur. In Exodus 9:18-23, he uses hailstones to rain as a tool of judgment against sinners. In other OT verses where God passes judgments were more isolated and then not global. So we have proof of a global flood. And it's like when I was, if you ever watched my Q&A with Pastor Nathan, I was talking about like over in Montana where you can go dig for fossils and stuff. And in other parts of the world, you have the scientific little diagram thing where you got different layers of rock and whatnot. Well, in each of those different layers, you can find land and sea animals all bundled up together, and everybody's got a flood account in each parts of the world. But I think that, and I find that fascinating that no matter where you go in the world, where you go and dig up fossils, you can find land and sea animals. Anyways, rains would continue 40 days and 40 nights. The number 40 plays significant roles throughout the Old Testament. Isaac and Esau were 40 when they married. Genesis 25:20 and 26 and 34. Moses was on Mount Sinai 40 days and 40 nights receiving the law from God. Exodus 24:18, 34:18, Deuteronomy 9:11 and 9:11, 18 and 25. Israel spent 40 years in the wilderness following their disobedience, Numbers 32:13. Philistines oppressed Israel for 40 years, Judges 13:1. Finally, several kings and judges ruled over Israel for 40 years. Throughout the rest of the Old Testament, again, Noah never questioned God. He just did what God commanded. We'll see that again later on in Genesis when Abraham picked up his family and started roaming around before, and where Abraham was the one to start the generations of starting to separate a certain group of people out to be God's people, which we know as the Israelites. Noah was 600 when the flood started and indicates the duration of the flood. No other human lived to this age after Noah. Verse 10, exactly 7 days after God told Noah of his plan, just as God had said, the flood had started. Then in 7:11, the waters came from two different sources. From below, fountains of the great deep. What this is meant is unknown, possibly pressurized water underground. And then from above, windows of heaven were opened. There is no evidence of another global flood since the global flood account is a one-time event. Just as God said, it rained 40 days and 40 nights, proving that God's word to Noah is trustworthy. Verses 13 through 15, the very same day that Noah finished loading the ark, the seventh day, Noah and his family entered the ark, preserving all which is the breath of life. It is not given on how God shut the door after Noah entered the ark. It is a general consensus that God shut the door supernaturally. This divine act highlights the truth found in John 2:9. Salvation is from the Lord. 19 through 20, the waters rose deep. The waters rose deep enough to cover the mountains, 15 cubits, 22.5 foot. We have a detailed account of the destruction that occurred during the flood, but Moses made a point to mention that through Noah and everyone that was with him on the ark, life is preserved. Only Noah of those were with him in the ark remained alive. 150 days seems to include the 40 days and 40 nights the waters prevailed, emphasizes the power of the waters. And that was it of my notes for Genesis chapter 7. Going back to the animals 2 by 2, I know the Darwin's theory is that we have this tree, and I know I've talked about this before. We have this tree, and then life stems from this little organism, and then you have all of creation from survival of the fittest, I guess you can say. And everybody has this common ancestor. Well, the thing of it is that in the account from the Bible is that, okay, God created everything in creationism. That's what it is. Sorry for the anyways, God created everything on the planet from Genesis, the very beginning of Genesis, and from there, when when Noah took these animals into the ark, it was okay. 2 horses, 2 cows, 2 deer, 2 foxes or wolves, and then from there we have them breeding into what we have today, and like with dogs, their common ancestor is a wolf. Horses, their common ancestor is a horse. There was even, from what I understand, were even dinosaurs, and they didn't have to be the full-grown animals that we see today. From what I understand, from a documentary that I was watching, is that all they had to be was the size of a lamb. So most of these animals were youngsters. They were barely yearlings. So that was how Noah was able to pack all these animals into the ark and not have to worry about feeding full-size animals, or trying to house a full-size animal the size of a giraffe or anything like that, because they were babies basically. Um, so I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I hope y'all enjoy my little Bible studies, and as we're getting into our little Q&As with our different pastors around. Please like and subscribe. If you haven't gotten a copy of Someone to Believe In, you can purchase them at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes. You can get them in paperback, hardback, and ebook form. I am looking into doing a audio book. I just don't know how that's going to happen quite yet, but we are looking into it. But there's no promises. That being said, y'all have a very blessed day, and I will see y'all next time with